Hey guys. Hey. Welcome. See if this lets me. To another Tapping Tuesdays. I'm just sharing it in the groups, you know the vibes. Over here on Facebook. Give me 1 second here. How's everybody's Tuesday going? I hope you're having an incredible Tuesday. Welcome to another Tapping Tuesdays hosted by me, Natalia Lee, aka the Billionaires. Alright, just want to make sure we're good here. Alright guys, to be honest, I'm going to get us started off bat today really quickly. If you tuned in last week, I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. I was having so much trouble with my phones, but today we should be good. So welcome to another Tapping Tuesdays, like I said, hosted by me, your host Natalia Lee, aka the Billionaires. I'm so happy and so grateful that you are taking the time out of your Tuesday evening to be here with me as we tap in, and we're gonna dive in today and tap in to figuring out if how you're pricing your offerings right now is effective. We're gonna run through a lot of different pricing. Well, we're gonna run through about 3 main techniques for pricing strategies. We're gonna talk a little bit more about pricing strategies, things that you should know. We're gonna dive into that so that you have more of a clearer understanding of, how effectively, like I said, you're pricing your offerings, right? And if there's some things that you need to change, especially if you're bringing new products or new offerings to the marketplace. So really quickly, I just want to say hello again. I wanted to just tell you, if this is your first time in Tapping Tuesdays, to welcome. Tapping Tuesdays is a platform that myself and my team have created to really take these larger principles, techniques, things of that sort, and kind of minimalizing it into snack-sized pieces and bits that you can really understand and you can apply to your business, to your brand, and to your marketing strategy. And so on Tapping Tuesdays, it's very intensive style, right? It's me, my notes, you, and taking your notes, and we kind of just dive into it for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Today's tap in, I want to keep kind of brief, kind of short, about like 30 minutes, 35 minutes. So with that being said, I just want to dive right into it. Now, understanding pricing strategies is really important because you can be pricing your offerings too high, too low. You could just be slapping a price on there. And so many solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, that is what they do, right? They have something new that they want to bring to the marketplace, and they don't really do the research on whether they should charge a certain amount or what the amount is that they should charge, right? They kind of just put like, oh, $19.95, $29.95, something like that, without really putting the research into which pricing strategy would be best for the offering that they're bringing to marketplace. So by knowing your pricing strategies, it's going to help you to really position your offerings in a more effective way for your niche target market, right? Your target market, with your niche target market at the same time, is going to allow you to see where you are in your marketplace, right? It's going to allow you to see if you're in a more crowded marketplace, or if you're in a marketplace where your product is unique in some way, and therefore you don't have to really worry about beating your competitors out by being the cheapest product, right? So there's so many people who think, oh, I'm just gonna lowball my competition, and that means that I'm gonna get more sales. And I see so many people who are in a lot of these Facebook groups, right, who they're like, oh man, I put this discount out, I slashed my prices 50%, I did this, I did that. Why am I not getting sales? Simply because it could be a lot of different reasons why you might not be getting sales, but a lot of people think simply because they lowball their competitors that the people are going to come over to them, when in reality, branding is king. That's a whole different thing, but branding is king. So you got to kind of figure out where you stand in your marketplace, and then look at these pricing strategies and decide by that. Okay, so right off bat, I want to give you some things that you want to know. All right, let me get my notes. Awesome. So demand for your offering is going to set your price ceiling, right? So your price ceiling is about how much you really want. Like, you don't want to go past this ceiling when it comes to pricing your offering, right? And where your price floor means you really don't want to go less than that to price your offering, right? So that's price ceiling and price floor. Now, demand is going to really set your price ceiling, because if there's less demand, you can you're less of a commodity, which means that you can have more of a premium price model for your offering. Whereas maybe you are kind of like a commodity. One small thing makes you different from the rest of your competitors, and therefore, you might not want to be too premium pricing, because there are a lot of different options that your target market can go to get an offering similar to yours, right? So demand for your offering is going to set your price ceiling, right? So how much people want your offering is going to set your price ceiling. 2, the variable cost determines your price floor, right? So variable costs have to do with, last week on Tap In Tuesdays, we talked about fixed cost and variable cost. Variable costs have to do with basically as volume fluctuates in your business, those costs are going to fluctuate as well, right? So those are the costs that are not set in stone, right? So that's not like your rent or your salaries. Your variable cost is going to be more things like your cost of goods sold, right? So the more volume that you're producing, there's going to be maybe the higher your cost of goods sold is, right? And that has to do with your variable cost. So your variable cost, right, is going to determine your price floor. Basically, if it's costing you $10 to create this product or bring this service to marketplace, you cannot charge less than $10 for your product, right? So that price floor is because your variable cost is at least $10. You can't go underneath that, because you're going to be in the red with your margins, okay? And then lastly, one thing that I want you to know is that, the consumers, my computer's going crazy. Your consumer value perception, right, and your buyer price sensitivity. So the perception that the consumers have as to how valuable your offering is, as well as your target market, how sensitive they are to pricing, was going to determine the max price that you're going to charge for your offering, right? So if your target market is teenagers, and you know that they're going to be very price sensitive because they're working on a really slim budget, right? You want to make sure, sorry guys, over here on Instagram it's like pausing, poor connection. You want to make sure that you're keeping that in account with how the max price that you're actually going to charge for your offering, right? You're not going to be charging $500 for your offering, and your niche target market is teenagers, because they're very price sensitive to that. And for them, they might not see the value in your offering. So you want to keep those things in mind. The value perception that your consumers have of your offering, as well as how sensitive they are to price. Okay, so those are a few things to know. All right, moving on, right? There are 3 factors that I want you to think about when you're pricing. 1, the life cycle stages of your offering, right? So in this sense, I want you to think about, how can I explain this? When it comes to, so when it comes to the life cycle stage of your offering, I really want you to think about a few things. One of the things that I want you to think about is, if you're bringing something extremely innovative to the marketplace, right? I want you to think about it in that way, and I want you to also think about it in the way of, totally lost my train of thought. One is how innovative your product is, right? Is it something that people haven't seen before? And the second thing I want you to think about is the actual life cycle stage of your offering, right? Like, are you selling like a very perishable type of item, or do you have a really long life cycle stage, like a computer, right? Or like a refrigerator, a microwave, like something like that has a longer life stage cycle, meaning you could charge more for it because people are getting more bang out of their buck because it has a longer life cycle. Whereas if you're selling a bag of lettuce or apple, it's going to go bad in a week, right? So you're not going to be charging a lot of money for it for something that has a really short life cycle. Okay, my phone just shut off Instagram. Crazy. Okay, anyway. So a very short life cycle. So I want you to think of that. That's one thing I want you to think about when it comes to pricing. 2, the effect of pricing on your profit margins. So this is so important. Like last week, you can go ahead and check out on my page after this live, last week's live, where we talked a lot about, we talked a lot about costs, like your relevant costs, your sunk costs. We talked about variable cost and fixed costs. We even dived into margins. And so you really want to think about your margins and get to know your margins so that you cannot gyp yourself when it comes to just throwing a price out there and you don't know your margins. You know what I'm saying? You just get something, you just boom, you just slap a price on it and you have no clue your cost of goods sold. You have no clue like what your gross profit is. You have no clue how much it costs to actually produce your product or bring your service or render your service. You have no clue, so you're just slapping a price on them. So I really want you to think about the effect of your pricing on your profit margins. Don't just slap a price on your offering. I want you to do the research so that you cannot be, putting your foot in your mouth. You know what I mean? And then when you realize you're not making any money, you're kind of scurrying, getting desperate. Don't do that. Third thing, prices. I want you to think about the prices of the other offerings you have in your offering mix. So your offering mix is your overall things that you're offering to your consumers, right? So I could be offering these little sticky notes. I could be offering highlighters, and I could be offering pens. I got a stationery line, right? So I got pens, highlighters, and sticky notes. I want you to think about the cost of all 3 different things, right? The cost of these might be a little less than this, right? And this might be less than this, right? So maybe it looks like this. This is the most expensive thing, this is the second expensive thing, and this is the least expensive thing, right? I want you to think about that because you want to have price differentials, right? So these 3 things are not all going to cost the same price because they have different things that they do for your consumer, right? And so your consumer is already thinking that they're going to have 3 different price points. So you want to have these price differentials because you want your consumers to see distinct value differences between price. Okay, so with your consumers seeing distinct value differentials between price, that gives you some room when it comes to pricing your offerings. Okay, so I want you to keep those 3 things in mind. 1, the life cycle stage of your offerings, right? 2, the effect of your pricing your offerings on your profit margins. And 3, the prices of the other offerings in your offering mix, right? I want you to really think about that, especially because you want to have those value differentials between the different offerings, right? All 3 offerings are not going to be priced the same. You want them to be priced based on their value. Okay? Alrighty. So another thing that I want you to remember is that price is a direct indicator of value. So for a given price, value increases as the perceived benefits increase. So the more benefits your consumers think they're going to get from your offerings, the more that they'll expect your offerings will cost. Let me give you an example. Think about Rolls Royce. Think about Tiffany's. Think about Cartier jewelry. Think about Chanel, right? These are all brands that are going off of prestige. So already their consumers are expecting to pay more. And because they pay more, they think that they're getting a more quality product, right? So that's a good example of the higher the price, the more perceived benefits that the consumer is going to think that it has, the more quality that the consumer is going to think that it has. If I see a highlighter for $2 and I see another highlighter for $6.50, I'm like, yo, what does a $6.50 highlighter do? It better highlight for me. You feel me? Like you're thinking about these things because you're just like, why is there a premium price here? You're already thinking that maybe it's more quality because it costs more. So I want you to keep that in mind when it comes to pricing your offerings because, again, a lot of people undercut their offerings and charge little, and therefore your consumers can really have this perception of maybe it's not as quality as your competitors. So I want you to keep that in mind. You may think that your consumers are just like, oh, it's cheaper, so I'm gonna go buy it, but that might not be the case. Okay, you can really be putting your foot in your mouth, so I want you to keep that in mind. All right, boom. So now we're gonna jump right into the different price strategies. We're gonna go over 3 different price strategies today. The first one is gonna be full cost, the second is gonna be variable cost pricing, and the third is going to be new offering price strategies. Okay, so this is a great time to take notes, and we're gonna just jump right into it. So full cost pricing is the most common, right? And full cost pricing, we're talking about markup pricing underneath full cost pricing. So one of the strategies, or I should say, for the full cost pricing, there's 3 different strategies, okay? Or I'm sorry, missing my words. For the full cost strategy, strategy, there are 3 different pricing models. And the first pricing model is markup pricing, and this is the most common, right? So the price of the offer is determined by adding a fixed amount onto the total cost of the offer, right? So this is like, for example, you're getting, maybe you're drop shipping, and you have the cost of the like how much it costs for you to actually get this item drop shipped, right? And then you just add on like whatever this fixed amount is, right? So let me give you an example. Say that you bought something, right? Let's say that you bought like a dress that you're going to be reselling from China, right? And the dress costs $4.60 to provide. That's your cost of goods sold, $4.60 for the dress. You're going to sell the dress for $6.35, let's just say. So your markup on the cost, right, which is $4.60, is 38%. And your markup on the price, which is $6.35, is 28%. So I gave you an example of dresses because markup pricing is very much used in industries like clothing and grocery stores, product industries like that, where you basically know how much it costs for you to buy said product, right? And then you're just marking it up like a fixed amount you mark up on that product. Okay, so you're buying it for $4.60. You're gonna add, whatever that difference is, $6.35 minus $4.60. My calculator, you know what that is. Yeah, because it's not gonna load. And that is how much your markup is. So let's say like every new dress you get in, you're gonna put that same markup on every dress. Okay, so that's one of the pricing strategies underneath the full cost strategy that is the most common, where people just kind of have this fixed amount that they mark up on their actual offering. Okay. The second pricing strategy is break even. Now this is useful in determining how many units you must offer at a specific price in order to cover your total cost, right? And your total cost includes your fixed cost and your variable cost, right? So your fixed cost, like your rent and your salary, as well as your variable cost, like your marketing budget and your cost of goods sold, right? So when it comes to people that use this break-even pricing, it's kind of like, instead of figuring out how much you're gonna mark up on the product, you're trying to figure out how much you need to price the product in order to break even. Okay, so you're kind of doing it backwards, right? So you have this amount, you're saying we break even at this amount. So in order to break even at this amount, we need to sell this many products, right, at this price point. So that's another strategy that you can use that's underneath the full cost strategy, right? So we have the markup pricing where you're determining how much you're pricing the offer by looking at how much the total cost of the offer was and adding a fixed amount on it, right? And then selling it for that. So you're gonna recoup, you're gonna have your return on investment, you're gonna recoup that, plus you're gonna have like your profit in there. Or you have your break even when you're saying to yourself, okay, this is how much it is to break even, and we break even by selling this many products at this price point. And that's how you determine the price point that you're gonna sell the offerings for. Okay, the third pricing model underneath the full cost strategy is rate of return. Now, this is the more sophisticated pricing strategy underneath full cost, and this is really used for organizations who are setting their price to obtain a certain return on investment. So maybe they have a certain return on investment that they want to have from said campaign, right? So they're rolling out this specific offering in this specific campaign. and they want to have this return on investment on it. So they're going to break it down from there to try to get how much they should sell each offering for. Okay, and those are the 3 pricing models underneath the full cost strategy. So we had the markup pricing, which is the most common, break-even pricing, right, and then the rate of return pricing. Okay, now that's going to bring us over to our second pricing strategy, which is variable cost pricing. So this is very much it's very demand-oriented pricing, right? So it's used when organizations are operating at less than capacity, right? So it's looking at sorry, my notes got me feeling crazy. Okay, so this is used when organizations are operating at less than capacity, right? And their fixed costs make up most of the total unit cost. So here they're really focusing on relevant cost, variable cost, like their variable cost, right? So those costs of goods sold, how much your marketing budget is, those variable costs that as volume increases or decreases, those variable costs increase or decrease, right? They're correlated. And they're not looking at total cost altogether. So this type of they're paying attention so much to variable cost because the variable unit cost is going to actually represent the minimum sales price that they're going to offer this product to marketplace, right? So this pricing model is really used to simulate or shift demand. And I'm gonna give some examples to break this down so that it's a little bit more clear. But this is really used to stimulate or shift demand. So the assumption is that using variable cost pricing is actually going to stimulate demand, increase revenue, and it's going to lead to more economies of scale, lowering your unit cost, lowering the cost per unit, and overall greater profits since it's lower than the full cost pricing. So they're basically like, okay, we're not even looking at how much everything is, like we're not even looking at our variable and our fixed costs. We're just paying attention to the variable cost. As long as we can not go less than the variable cost, we can kind of, as long as we don't go less than the variable cost, we can undercut our competition, right? And drive demand, right? That's what they're thinking. So let me give you an example. When it comes to variable cost pricing, you would have seen this in things like airlines, right? And airlines, when they offer different classes for flights, right? Or when hotels offer weekend special rates, or movie theaters have senior citizens discounts, or they have like student discounts. This is an example of the fact that they don't want to go less than the variable cost, but it gives them a chance to drive demand. Because at the end of the day, they're not thinking about the fixed cost because the airlines still have to keep the same flight schedule whether you're on it or not. The movie theater is still going to run the movie whether it's full or it's empty, right? And the hotels, they're still going to be open whether the rooms are booked or they're not. So at the end of the day, the fixed cost is actually running the hotel and running the airline, right? And operating the movie theater. Those are some of the fixed costs that they're not paying attention to. Not paying attention to, but it's really the variable cost that's but it's really them paying attention to the variable cost that's allowing them to offer these discounts or offering these different classes on the airline, first class, coach, or special rates. It kind of gives them the ability to offer incentives that will then drive demand. Okay, so variable cost pricing is all about driving demand, stimulating, shifting demand, being able to offer incentives and discounts as long as it doesn't interfere with your variable cost. Your variable cost is your floor. Okay, so your cost of goods sold, how much, the cost that it actually takes to, the cost that it actually takes to generate the product or the service, okay? Those are more of your variable costs. That's your floor. And then you're able to stimulate or shift demand depending on the incentives, discounts, and things of that sort that you utilize, Okay, so we had the first price strategy, which was full cost, the second price strategy, which was variable cost pricing, and the third is new offer price strategy. So this is going to be the last strategy that we're going to go through tonight. And this is specifically for new offerings that you're bringing to marketplace. So you want to be using these, like I said, when you're bringing a new offer to marketplace, and it's really three different strategies. How can I go over this? Okay, it's really 3 different strategies. And the way that I'm going to lay them out is I'm going to give you the strategy, okay? And then I'm going to give you a few conditions that if these conditions apply, then you might want to think about utilizing the strategy, okay? I think that's the best way for me to go about this. Okay, before I do that, I want to give 2 key terms that I'll be using. One of them is, both of them are inelastic and elastic. Inelastic means that it's insensitive to change in price or income, right? Elastic means that when demand changes, price changes. So those are correlated. Okay, I just want to give those keywords because I'll be using them throughout what I'm saying next. Awesome. So the first pricing strategy for the new offer is skimming pricing strategies. Now, this is a strategy that is used when maybe you don't have direct competitors and your offering is more unique. Okay, so if any of these conditions apply, you might want to think about maybe utilizing the skimming pricing strategy when you're bringing a new offer to market. The first, demand is likely to be price inelastic, right? So it's not sensitive to change in price or income. 2, difference in price market segments, which appeals to first to buyers who have a high range of acceptable prices. So these buyers, the buyers in your niche target market might be more acceptable to higher price ranges here, okay? Maybe your offering is unique enough to be protected through patent, copyright, or some type of trade secrets. Production or marketing costs are unknown. What else do we have here? A capacity constraint in producing the product or providing the service exists, right? An organization, maybe your organization wants to actually generate funds quickly to recoup the investment or finance in other developmental aspects, right? And also, if there is a realistic perceived value in your offering. So to break it down a little bit further, is the skimming pricing strategy is when you're actually going to set the price of your offering high and it reduces over time. This is something that you will use if you don't have a lot of direct competitors, because at the end of the day, let me give you an example. Like we're talking about Rolls-Royce, Cartier Jewelry, Chanel. These brands, when they're bringing a new product to marketplace, they're most likely using the skimming price strategy, right? Where they're setting that price very high and maybe it comes down over time. Whereas the penetration pricing strategy is where you introduce a new low price. Okay, so an example of the penetration pricing strategy might be like Walmart compared to Whole Foods, or Walmart compared to Target. Walmart's all about the lowest prices, right? So they're introducing a new low price and they're in a crowded marketplace. So penetration pricing strategy you might want to use when you're in a more crowded marketplace, right? And so the skimming pricing and the penetration pricing are 2 extremes on 2 different spectrums, right? So I want you to keep that in mind as we move through. When it comes to the penetration pricing strategy, like I said, you set a new low price. So you can look at some of these conditions and see if these conditions apply to you when you're bringing a new offering to marketplace. Some of these conditions might be the demand is likely to be price elastic, right? So as demand changes, price changes. The offer is not unique, right? It's not going to be protected by patents, copyrights, or trade secrets. Maybe it's a commodity. Your competitors are expected to enter the marketplace very quickly. There is a possibility of large savings in productions if you generate large sales. So if you're selling more, you get a lot of savings in that sort. So maybe you want to just work based on quantity and not much quality. And also maybe if your target is to obtain a larger market share, right? So penetration pricing strategy is more about quantity over quality, and skimming is more quality over quantity. Okay, so skimming, you're gonna set a higher price and maybe sell less. Penetration, you're gonna set a lower price and sell more. Okay, so I want you to keep those in mind when it comes to new offering. And then right in the middle, the most used, is the intermediate. This is basically where you kind of look at the fact of if you're in a crowded marketplace or if you don't have direct competitors. You want to look and see what your marketplace is like and then set a price in the middle of those, right? So you might not be pricing it very high, and you might not be pricing it very low, but you might have like a nice middle that you've come to figure out by using the full cost or variable cost pricing strategies. Okay, and so in the new offering price strategy, like I said, you have your skimming price strategies, which is where you set your price really high and you reduce it over time. This is better when you have no direct competitors, when you can get it patented, like something's really unique about your offering. Then you have on the other end of the spectrum, penetration pricing strategies, when you set a new low price. Think about Walmart, right? Skimming, think about Chanel, Tiffany, Rolls-Royce. Penetration, think more about Walmart. Wants to be the new low price. Like I said, penetration is more quantity over quality, and skimming is more quality over quantity. So keep those things in mind when you are bringing a new offer to marketplace. Okay, whew, I know we went through a lot. I feel like I need to take a breath. But, I really wanted to bring this topic to you guys for Tap In Tuesdays today because like I said, there are so many business owners who they're not thinking about these different things or don't know it, right? And so the thing about it is, if you don't know something, you don't know to go look for it. YouTube University is great, but if you don't know what you're going to look for, then you're just kind of like going down a rabbit hole, right? So really understanding these pricing strategies and really keeping them in mind when you're pricing your offering can do a lot of justice for your brand, right? Having those value differentials, right? I know there's a lot of brands who might have $2 difference between their different offerings, but how are you going to introduce value into your brand, right? Your consumers are looking at it like, okay, this has this value, this has this value, this has this value. That's going to allow you to have a well-balanced offering mix, right? So when you do price accordingly, it makes sense to them. Whereas you might just be pricing all over the place just because you look at something, you're like, oh, let me tack $5 on. Oh, let me tack $10 on. Right? If you're going to do markup pricing, make sure that you have that fixed amount that you add on to every single offering in a specific offering class. These are things I want you to keep in mind because at the end of the day, guys, it's really important to me to help you guys to build foundational businesses. Right? I'm not talking about the businesses that are just on Facebook or Instagram and they're here today, gone tomorrow. I'm talking about the businesses that are going to allow you to actually create a system, right? Not be a slave to your business like you were a slave to your job. I'm talking about create a system that's going to introduce legacy for your family, right? That's going to introduce ability for you and your family. That's what my main focus is with teaching these principles, sharing my knowledge, right? It's all about inspiring, empowering, and educating you to really conquer your potential, right? So even though I do cover a lot of stuff about social media and digital marketing and all these great things, I also need to be covering things that are foundational because guess what? You might know how to get more followers on Instagram, but if you don't know how to price your products correctly and they get to your website, they're going to leave and they're not going to shop with you. Now you're wondering why people are not converting on your website. You think it's your products when really, or you think it's just your content, or you don't know what it is because you don't know about the proper way to price your offerings, right? It's these foundational things that are going to be the difference between you thriving past 5 years and you failing in 5 years. It's not just about digital marketing, right? It's just not about Facebook ads. It's just not about social media and Instagram. It's just not about creating great content. All those things are great, but if your foundationals are not great, those things don't matter. That's what I'm trying to say. You waste money investing in these things because your foundation is not in alignment. And so that's what's so important for me to give a gem to you guys on. Okay, guys? Whew. So I know that was, listen, this is the quickest Tap In Tuesdays that I've done. I'm like so happy and so grateful. So happy, so grateful. So happy and so grateful. If you enjoyed today's Tap In Tuesdays, then you're gonna enjoy so much the back to school special that I have coming to you guys. The first back to school session was amazing. A lot of the students got a lot of great information. Sorry, it's like my mouse is like moving. A lot of students got a lot of great information. They learned so much to apply to their business. It's basically in the second session, it's starting August 24th. And this is basically an online school, right? Back to school, online school that will be running for 2 weeks. We're only enrolling 50 students, but throughout this time, in those 2 weeks periods, you're going to go through about 25 to 30 different trainings to really help you to grow your brand and to really help you to grow a foundational to create a foundation for your business, right? It is a free, let me say it again, free school, right, that you can attend. It's all online. The classes are pre-recorded. And like I said, the first session was so amazing. We got so much great feedback on it, guys. And I'm just so happy, so grateful to be bringing it back to you guys again. So we're only enrolling about 50 students into this session. Like last session, enrollments go quickly. Last session, we end up having a wait list because, people caught on to what was going on and was sharing it to family and friends and just went wildfire from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the link in the comments to open up the wait list for you guys. So when I drop this link, you can learn all about it. There's a video up there. You can learn all about the back to school program, as well as sign up for the wait list to ensure that you have a spot for this upcoming session. Okay, guys? Like I said, it's starting on August 24th. It's free of charge to these 50 enrollees. And yeah, I'm really excited. I don't know if we're going to bring back the session after this one, but I'm really, really excited to offer it to you guys. So I'm going to drop the link. Let me do it now. Let's see. So that you guys can hop over there and enroll. Okay, I dropped that right. Yeah, so you guys can go over there, head over, drop and enroll into the wait list, and then you get an email with further directions. I'm super, super excited. I'm so grateful and happy that you tuned in to Tap In Tuesdays today. Make sure that you connect with me and meet me here again next Tuesday at 9 p.m. as we go over some more things to help you to grow a foundational business that you can grow, you can gain true freedom from, and you can really create a family legacy for you and your family. With that being said, thank you so much for joining me for another Tap In Tuesdays. It's me, your host, Natalia Lemery, aka The Billionaires, and I will see you guys soon. Make sure that you click that link and sign up for the waitlist, guys, because those 50 enrollees, they're going to go quick. Love you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening. See you guys next time. Bye.